Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Or if you're new here, hey, what's up? I'm Evelyn and welcome to my channel. I make weekly videos here about productivity, lifestyle, career, all from the perspective of a product manager working in tech. So if you're interested in seeing more videos like that, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button down below. I would love to have you join our little community here on YouTube. We're nearly 500 people, which is insane. I would love to have you here. Recently, I had this little video here, Computer Science at UC Berkeley. I wanted to kick off this sort of like college mini series here on my YouTube channel, just stories and advice that I think I would have loved to hear prior to going into college or even in college itself, things that I think would have been helpful to hear. So for today's video, I wanted to do a continuation of that little college mini series and kind of do like a part 2 to that video I did about computer science, one about the business administration degree. So for those of you guys who do not know, I graduated over a year ago with a simultaneous degree in business administration and computer science from UC Berkeley. And that's what this little mini series is gonna be about, just talking about my experience doing those majors, clubs, internship recruiting, all those different things like that. But if you have additional questions that you think would be helpful for me to answer or video ideas about college itself, feel free to leave that down in the comments below. I would love to go through, read, be inspired by them and answer any questions that you might have. But for today's video, I wanted to just focus on the business administration degree from UC Berkeley and talk through that fully. So just like the other video I did, I'm gonna go ahead and break it into 3 parts. First, I'll be talking about the prerequisites and just the general degree requirements. Then I'll dive into what my course schedule looked like semester after semester. And lastly, I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up with my general thoughts around the major itself. As a business administration major and taking it at UC Berkeley. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before I dive into the requirements, I actually want to talk quickly about kind of like the 3 paths you can take into getting to the Haas School of Business or being a business major at UC Berkeley. So the first path is the path I took, the continuing UC Berkeley student, which you apply to the business school your sophomore or your junior year. If you guys want me to do a full video about the application process, what my application looked like and different things like that, comment that down below. I'm more than happy to make another video about it. Then the second path is a transfer student, so you can transfer into the School of Business. And lastly, they didn't have this when I was first entering college, but there's a bunch of freshman admit programs now, so you can come into the Haas School of Business as a freshman. I think it's called the Global Management Program, Management, Entrepreneurship, and Tech is the other one, the MET program, and I think there might be some others. I'm not too sure, I'm not too familiar with them. Now let's dive into the degree requirements. Like I said before, I took the continuing UC Berkeley student path, so I'll be talking about the prerequisites needed to apply for the major itself. I believe you can take some of the prerequisites in the semester after you apply, so the semester you find out if you've been accepted or not, so they're not all required upfront for the application itself. But diving into that, I consider them the lower division prerequisites, starting off with UGPA 10, then there's Math 16A and 16B, or you can take 1A and 1B, or you can take 53, or you can take 54, Econ 1 or 2, Stat 20 or 131A or 134, English R1A, and English R1B. That's all you need to take, and you need to take all those prerequisites by the spring before the fall that you start being a business major, if that makes sense. So usually people apply in fall, get accepted in spring, and start the next fall. You need to make sure that you take all these prereqs before you start officially as a business major in fall. For those guys who do not know what UGBA stands for, by the way, it stands for Undergraduate to Business Administration. So these are all undergrad classes because the Haas School of Business also has an MBA program. Once you've been accepted, it kind of opens up the door to all the upper division requirements. So the upper division requirements are UGPA 100, UGPA 101A, UGPA 101B, 102A, 102B, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107. And then you'll also need, sorry, I'm reading off my screen here, 8 upper division business units, 12 upper division non-business units, and just like the College of Letters and Science at UC Berkeley, you need to take the 7-course breadth. All right, so that's all the requisites for the major itself. Now let's dive into my course schedule semester after semester. So I'll be going in chronological order here, starting with, I talked about this in my last video, I did indeed start college the summer after I graduated high school, which I know is insane, but I don't know, I just wanted to get a head start, so I figured why not. Didn't have any plans anyway. So I started with taking Econ 1 summer of 2016. It is a intro to econ course. I didn't think it was too bad. If you attended lectures and attended discussions, it was a huge class full of freshmen. So definitely everyone kind of feels the same or is like on the same level with you in terms of understanding course load and trying to figure out college and things like that. So not so bad. What was bad though was Math 54. It is linear algebra and differential equations. And I was just not prepared for this class. I talked about it in my computer science video. I was not prepared for how hard this math class would be, given that I always did okay in math in high school and things like that. I just didn't realize math could be this hard. Wouldn't really recommend here. If you, out of all the math options that you have here, I'd probably just go with one of the easier math courses. Taking 16A and 16B or one of the other ones would have been fine. Oh, also I forgot to mention, I actually didn't go into college thinking that I would be applying to the business major itself. I just so happened to take these courses because I just thought they were more general courses that probably were prerequisites for any major, and that's how I ended up choosing these two classes to take in my first summer at college. Because I wasn't planning on being a business major that following semester, I didn't take any of these requisites because I didn't know I wanted to be that major. If you actually check out this video right here on how I became product manager in tech, you hear about the journey I had even figuring out what major I should be, because I didn't go into college thinking at all that I would go into tech or business or anything like that. Fall of 2016, I still didn't really know what major I wanted to be. I was kind of just listening to what classes other people were taking and trying to take classes that I felt were general and could apply to other majors as well. So I just so happened to take Stat 134 that fall, which to be honest wasn't the best idea. It's an upper div stat course, so I really don't know why I did that to myself. It's called Concepts of Probability, and it was incredibly hard. I wouldn't recommend taking it unless you feel like you have a solid foundation in statistic knowledge, because I definitely didn't, and I shouldn't have done that, but I struggled through it and made it out in fall of 2016 and managed to check that prereq off my list. Spring 2017 is kind of when I decided to go for the business major and take UGBA 10. So UGBA 10 is Principles of Business, and this class is gigantic. It's a prerequisite, so a lot of students take this who might not end up being actually getting into the major itself. So it's just a really large course. I think it was like 400 people, something like that. And there are essentially, it breaks down into like 4 multiple choice tests that determine your entire grade, plus 1 really competitive game that you play. And yeah, that was an interesting course to say the least. Spring 2017, I also knocked out that reading and composition requirement. So my English R1B requirement, I ended up taking Scandinavian R5B, which it was like an 8 a.m. course. And yeah, I barely remember it just because it was at 8 a.m. I will say though, my biggest piece of advice in these courses, I think it's like 20 people in these courses usually, is to go to office hours and have the instructor read through your essays and proofread them, because most of your grade is probably just going to be dependent on the essays you write themselves. So why not have the person you know that's going to be grading your essays critique your essay? That's really the way I was able to successfully make my way through the course, was just by attending office hours and essentially having the instructor proofread my essays before I submitted them. So by spring of 2017, I had essentially filled out all the prereqs. English R1A, I skipped using my AP Lit score. I forgot exactly what it was, but it managed to pass me out of that one. So by the semester, I had essentially filled out all the prereqs, and I was able to apply to the major in fall of 2017, which, like I said before, if you guys are interested in hearing more about the application process, my application, advice, different things like that, go ahead and comment any questions, or just let me know down below if you want to see a video like that. But yes, I applied fall of 2017, which is why I didn't take any courses in fall of 2017. And I don't believe I was able to take upper division business classes ahead of time or anything like that. And I didn't want to get too cocky about getting accepted into the school itself, of course. So both fall of 2017 and spring of 2018, I didn't take any business degree related courses at all, just because I wasn't sure what the outcome of applying was going to be. And so then we just go ahead and flash forward to fall of 2018, when I really started just going hard on UGBA requirements. I took 6 business major requirements this semester. I think I was just so excited about being a business major and wanting to take all these classes that I just really dove into it. So let's go through them one by one. So UGA 100 is business communication. It's actually a smaller course. It's about like 30-ish people, and there are 4 or 5 different professors who teach it. I remember this course was a lot of just like writing, like pretend writing. So you would pretend to have bad news for your employees and you would write about that. You would put together a deck pitching some sort of like startup idea, something like that. So super fun and creative course. Then there's 101A, which is macroeconomic analysis for business decisions. This was actually less math than I thought it'd be. It was just a lot of like explaining cause and effect. Then 104, which is introduction to business analytics. This class I actually really liked. It reminded me a lot about my CS courses themselves. There was even a lab that we would go to. You learned how to use like Excel tools and things like that. So really enjoyed that course, thought it was a lot of fun. UGA 107, the social, political, and ethical environment of business. I just remember this being a really large course. 200, 300 people, and most of your grading was based off of writing. I believe all the tests and things like that were full-on essays that you needed to write. UGBA 118, international trade. So this was actually to start hacking away at the 8 upper division business units that I needed to take. I actually enjoyed this course a lot. The professor was just so entertaining that even if I wasn't that interested in the topic itself, the lectures themselves and the people who were taking the class too, was about like 30 of us, were so entertained by the professor that it made the class a lot of fun. And another course that I took in order to hack away at those 8 upper division business units is UGBA 190T. So it's a special topics in innovation and design course. It was quite larger. It was like a 50 people or something like that. It's only a 2-unit course. This course was really just about, I think it was entrepreneurship. It had us come up with some sort of like product. So it really got your creative juices flowing. You were working in a group most of the time, and it was just one of those like creative courses. Like you didn't need to memorize anything. There weren't really lectures. It was just about going, learning, and being creative with a group of people. So that's fall of 2018. Diving into spring of 2019, once again, just went in on those business courses. I took 5 this semester, 5 which are the like core upper division requirements. So let me go ahead and run through those. I started off with 101B. So this is part 2 of 101A, macroeconomics for business decisions. This one was a lot more math than 101A. UGBA 102A, introduction to financial accounting. My first glimpse into accounting. And let me tell you, I do not have the memory skills to do accounting. I think that course is when I realized I didn't have the memory skills to do accounting, because there was just so much you needed to memorize and I couldn't keep up. 103, introduction to finance. This one was a lot of just calculations and memorizing those formulas to calculate. A lot of just like calculating the future value of investments. 105 was leading people. And this class was so lecture heavy and textbook heavy that I think I just didn't take it in the right course schedule, because I think this class required a lot more of my time and attention, which I didn't give it. I think I severely underestimated this course because it was on leading people. I thought it'd be a lot of just like memorizing leadership skills and techniques, but instead it ended up being a lot of the test was on the readings and the lectures, which I didn't remember a lot of, so didn't do so well in that course. 106 was marketing, once again a smaller course. I think there was like 30-ish of us, once again taught by like 3 or 4 different instructors. I personally loved the professor I had for marketing. I thought this class was so fun. It was very like case study heavy, so people would break out into group projects and have to dive into individual case studies for those projects. And I remember learning a lot about marketing terms in this class itself. So I thought it was a great course that set me up for better understanding how to like market products in the future, especially being a product manager. I thought this was super helpful in learning all these terms and kind of understanding brand positioning and value props and things like that. And just like that, we're on to my last semester in college, fall of 2019. I don't know how we got here so quickly, probably just crammed so many Haas classes in the last 2 semesters that here we are. So this semester I actually ended up taking only 2 more business courses in order to round out those upper div requirements. I took 102B, which was the part 2 of 102A. So instead of financial accounting, it is managerial accounting. So from kind of like higher level company perspective, job costing, internal rate of return, these are just the phrases that I remember from the course itself. There was weekly homeworks. Class size was also bigger. I didn't think it was too bad. Once again, like financial accounting though, I thought it was a lot of memorization. And the last course I took in order to round out the 8 upper division business units required was UGBA 135. It's called Navigating Life's Financial Decisions. I took this because I felt like I needed it. I felt like I didn't really understand taxes, stocks, credit scores, different things like that. And this class, essentially, there was like a book that you'd read that would cover all of it. So I thought of it as the class you should take if you didn't have parents who explained to you all the things you should do with your money in the future, like talking about Roth IRAs and 401ks and different things like that. This class would be perfect for you. It was only a 2-unit course, so it was mainly about just going to lectures, memorizing all those things, and then multiple choice tests at the very end to kind of just see what you remember from the course. I didn't think it was too bad. Definitely more real world helpful course. Wow, okay, so that's all nearly filled out. The 12 upper division non-business units, I went ahead and filled out with my CS degree requirements. They just overlapped really well. And then the 7-course breadth, I can do another video on that separately, but it's just something that the College of Letters and Science, and I believe, or I guess the Haas School of Business too, requires you to do. Just take one course from 7 different topics that they pick. It's just to kind of round out your academic experience at Berkeley. All right, so that is my course schedule all complete for my business administration major at the Haas School of Business. That's what I did. And now let's go ahead and just reflect on my experience, dive into a few pros and cons about doing that major at the Haas School of Business. I would say the first pro is definitely class sizes. I think about half of the classes that you need to take had about 30 to 40 or even less. So there were definitely smaller class sizes, what you would usually imagine in like middle school or high school settings. And then the other half were the larger 100, 200, 300 person classes. But that is nothing compared to the like 1,600 class sizes that you'll have for the beginner CS courses at Cal. So definitely a lot smaller in terms of class size, which means just a lot more attention on you and gets you working with more people more easily without feeling like you're just like a little fish in the sea. A con though is for these classes, they're all graded on like a curve. Haas does this like curve of the class, which means the average can't be over a certain amount. I don't remember exactly what that amount was. I think it was like either a B+ or an A- is what the entire class average needs to come out to be. So even if you're in a really easy class, like a 2-unit easy class, that's a lot of just memorization or something like that, even if you do well, like raw score, you have an A, you might end up with a B or a B+ just because of the way the curve works, since it needs to average out to be an A-. I don't know if it's still that way, but I know at least during my time there, that's what the class average needed to be, which kind of sucked because you feel like you're competing really heavily against the other people in your class, and it might be a 1 or 2 point difference between you and your classmates that causes one person to get an A and another person to get a B. A second pro though is definitely the sense of community. You're in a smaller group of people on campus. The CS major has like maybe like 400 people per class, something insane, a large number. And the Haas School of Business has about half of that. I think there's 200 people in every class. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's so small to a point, and you're taking all the same classes, so you definitely get to know one another. You start recognizing people in your courses, you start studying with them, you go to library with them, you see the same faces, and you start to recognize people a lot easier. So you definitely get a feeling of being in a smaller community on campus, which is especially important going to a public school where each class size is like 8,000 people or something like that. So it's great to feel like you're part of a smaller community on campus. A second con is that you actually won't know if you're in the business major until your 2nd or 3rd year. So you apply your 2nd or 3rd year and you won't find out until the semester after. So that kind of sucks that you'll be going into college not sure that you'll actually be able to be a business major. I think at most places, especially for even like CS at Berkeley, you only need to meet a certain GPA requirement for your prerequisites in order to declare that major. But for Haas School of Business, you need to actually separately apply and get into that major again. So I would say that for someone who's heading into college, knowing for sure that they want to be a business major, it may
be hard to kind of have to take that risk of not being sure whether or not you'll actually get into the Haas School of Business once you apply. So that's definitely something to look out for if you're unsure. So that's definitely something to look out for if you really want to be a business major and you might not want to take that risk of having to apply again once you're there. The third pro is definitely the amazing buildings and the perks you get as a Haas student. So they have like their own little side of campus with a lot pretty buildings that mostly business students go and use. And you also get free printing. They sometimes have like snacks and things like that for finals week. So there's just a lot of like little perks that you get from being a Haas student. They also give you a backpack and I think a shirt at some point. And they also hold little events on that little separate campus as well. The third con though is Haas students have like a weird reputation on campus. They're often called like snakes for being, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's kind of like students who will try to take advantage of you or just aren't genuine. So they have this reputation of being not genuine people in terms of being kind of like snaky or always trying to be selfish and like take advantage of situations. And I think that often is also applied to the business students themselves. I personally think that I'm not a snaky person and I don't think any of my peers are, but that is the reputation that a lot of business students have on campus. The fourth and final pro of being a business major at Cal is definitely the professors. A lot of them just come from such unique backgrounds of being either a hedge fund, CEO, came from a startup, started a startup, something like that, and they just have a lot of expertise to talk to, especially regarding whatever topic it is that they're teaching. So it's a lot of fun learning from professors who have been through that experience, and even being able to network with them is amazing. So that's definitely a big pro to being at the Haas School of Business. Haas also has like an MBA program, so in the future, if you want to do that, it's kind of I think it might be easier to get in. I'm actually not too sure, but you at least get to kind of see what the Haas School of Business would be like before you do an MBA there, which I think is pretty cool. And you also get to share the same buildings and facilities with the other MBA students. So I don't know, maybe it's a potential for you to network as well.
But overall, incredible experience. I felt like I was greatly supported by my peers and the professors. They always made time. There was always TAs that were easily available. So I think this program is great for you if you feel like other majors have just too many students in them and you might not get the attention you need, because definitely at the Haas School of Business, you get more attention on you. Like if you are falling behind in courses or if you aren't meeting your degree requirements in time, there are people who will be there to catch you, which I felt a lot more in the business major than I did in the computer science major. That just about wraps up my experience as a business administration major at UC Berkeley. If you have any other questions, comments, go ahead and just leave them down in the comments below. I love talking to you guys there. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.